Alright, so Eternal Crusade is now out. Now, was it everything we had hoped it to be? Oh, Eternal Crusade. I wanted you to succeed. I wanted us to be an awesome 40k game. It needs to be done. We need a great 40k game to come out. This could have been it. This should have been it. But sadly, I personally am incredibly disappointed. I don't know about you guys, but I don't like being misled. Early on, this was a free-to-play title as advertised. You'd be able to buy the game and play any faction you want, but if you wanted to play free, you could be the Orcs. That got shot down before release. Not something they ended up doing, which is fine. I'll deal with that. That's cool. I don't mind. However, this is a $50 game. I'm expecting a lot of content, a polished title to come out. This is still feels like a beta game, completely beta. It's half-baked. It's a piece of pizza that's still doughy. It has like tomatoes on it, but it doesn't have the sauce, the chicken. It has nothing on it. Alright, so we don't have the free-to-WoD. Is it an MMO? No. This is a lobby shooter. If you think this is going to be a persistent world MMORPG, you are dead wrong. If you plan on buying it for that reason, I'm sorry, this isn't the game. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about the gameplay mechanics. So for the most part, you're getting a third-person lobby-based shooter. It's fast-paced, it has melee, however, I feel that it's a bit clunky. The melee can be described as a spam-fest affair decided by a particular weapon or who can kick who first for the stun. The gunplay can be very exciting at times, especially when two sides pick a spot that they're defending and neither one wants to give up any ground. That is when the game really truly shines and allows you to get that action-packed feel from what the game is supposed to offer. I only have minor complaints with the extreme camera shake while in combat, and the crosshair sometimes will get dispersed when it comes across certain terrain, making your shots miss and making the aiming a little off. The cover system is there, but not all that useful. You can use it. It hasn't changed much since the beta at all. In fact, it hasn't really at all. It hasn't changed. And you can get behind cover, but due to the latency of popping out and popping back to your cover, you still tend to get the damage registered after you've already returned and then eventually down. And if you're behind some railing, the railing's not high enough. You can go behind railing and cover underneath it, but it's just not very protective. You're still going to get shot because your character model is just too big. One thing I noticed that has changed with the gameplay is the vehicle mechanics, the controls, the way it feels. In the early access, you felt like you're just driving this boxy, flamboyant tank that just goes one speed, and when it hits anything, it just bounces around, and it just felt really odd. I didn't like it, but now they have weight. They feel like an actual vehicle driving around. Now, what still bugs me is the turrets of the Predator tanks or any of the turrets in general. They move about as fast as your mouse. There's no delay. You can aim very quick. You can fire very rapidly, making them incredibly dangerous and hard to avoid their blind spots. So what kind of content did they fill the game up since early access up to this point of release? So the first thing I'm going to reiterate on is the claims that this is a MMORPG with a persistent world. That is a bold-faced lie and unforgivable. And the only reason they can get away with this is because if you go to the world map, which is going to be at the main menu screen, and you have a look at what's there, what you're going to see is these little territory areas that if you zoom in, you can see that there's some sort of battle meter going on, and you will see it change hand in hand to different factions. However, you cannot interact with it. You cannot defend a location, attack a location, gain any perks or buffs or items or anything. It serves no purpose. Nobody uses it. They don't look at it. Everyone clicks the to war button if they have a preference to see what map they want to play or just do the PvE. Otherwise, everyone just uses the quick join function and just joins into a battle real quick because that's where everybody goes. No one actually looks at the map because it serves absolutely no purpose. They've also, since early access, added the advancement system. For any MMO, you have to advance, right? Level up, get gear, and so on and so forth. So they do have that now. They have an advancement skill tree for each faction. However, the problem with it is it's very grindy. When you did the early access, it wasn't too bad. It had a decent pace. Now, it's going to take you a very, very long time to start seeing the end tier results. I personally also didn't feel very rewarded while going through the skill tree because a lot of it was just finally getting a grenade, being allowed to use grenades, or losing 100 LP off of a particular weapon set so you can equip more of a loadout than what you currently can do. Now, the progression will let your character get quite powerful compared to someone who is just rank 1. And another thing that can help that is these boxes you can purchase with the points you earn after every match. And those points can buy you either a box of a random item. For my case, I unlocked a Masterwork Plasma Pistol. Now, the biggest difference between the Masterwork Plasma Pistol and the regular Plasma Pistol, besides 100 LP, was it reduced a slight amount of recoil. That's it. And that took me 4 hours of gameplay, roughly, to earn that. Otherwise, I can spend those points on things I've already played around with during early access, like the Power Sword, or the Melt-A-Gun, and so on and so forth. Now, due to the grindy nature of the advancement points and the unlockable items, I felt no incentive whatsoever to play any other faction but one. The amount of time investment you're going to have to put into one faction to get to the end tier results is going to be incredible. And your character will be incredible. I already experienced someone on the Space Wolves who had the Wolf Priest with the mace, who had it enchanted with fire, and every time he hit me, especially at level 1, it was a one-shot. He one-shotted myself and every one of my squad mates. So after he did that, I decided to watch the scoreboard for a little bit, and he was getting about a kill per second. The guy was a complete monster and unstoppable. I honestly had more fun during the early access than now release, simply because everyone was on a fair playing field, and this is a lobby shooter. It'd be a different story if this was a real MMO. The PvE, though, is the PvE good? The game is supposed to have PvE. Did they deliver? Well, it is there. You will get your PvE. However, I had to wait approximately 20 minutes to get a team to go inside to the PvE. So you get to fight off a horde of Xenos while trying to beat the timer in order to complete simple control and hold objectives. That's it. That's your PvE. So yeah, nobody plays it. Feels like it was just thrown together to prove that they do have it. Now, this next part is completely optional, but I find it amusing. So we're going to go into the store now. So the store uses RTC. The RTC is used to buy skins and custom components to your armor or whatever. Now, important to note, the price. You see a shiny new chainsword you want to buy for a skin? Well, guess what? It's going to be 10,000 RTC. However, when you go to buy that RTC on Steam, let's say you have 0, you can only purchase 9,000. That's about $10 US. Well, what's the next increment? Well, 21,000 RTC, $20. The cheapest is 4,000 RTC for $5. So if you want to get a 10,000 RTC item from 0, you need to spend at least $15 to get that one weapon skin. But you're in luck. If you decide to make another Chaos of a different sub-faction, it will carry over, except the advancement points. So that $50 game you bought, and you want skins? Oh boy, you're going to be pennying out the dough. Alright, so graphics and audio. One thing this game definitely has going for it is it's very pretty. I love the look. I love the aesthetics. Everything looks great. It's a believable universe. Now, the visuals can get very disorienting in pitched combat, especially if you're playing Chaos versus the Space Marines. A lot of the times you'll find a lot of animations hitting the screen, a lot of gunfire, a lot of explosions, and a lot of the new spells and AoE heal effects going off. And sometimes friendlies won't render properly, and you'll have to wait a moment. And if it's Space Marines versus the Chaos, that can be very confusing at times when you're trying to quickly acquire targets and all this friendly fire starts to happen. Now, I found the audio to be problematic, especially in larger scale combat. The audio for me sounded like it was underwater at times, or sounds just didn't produce at all, because there's just so much happening and there's the music, and it just wasn't good. It just was a lot of noise. When it did want to cooperate, the audio was just fine, but because more than half the time I had issues with it, the audio was garbage. I'll give it props, though, for its great voice acting work for each of the factions. It was very believable and unique to even the sub-factions.
Chaos will have you all!
So for my conclusion, I had high hopes that were completely dashed into the abyss. It was a forced release. it was brought out way too early. It still feels early access, and that it's at a premium price of $50 on top of the incredibly outrageous prices of the skins you can buy within their microtransaction store. But probably the worst part about the whole entire thing is the lack of delivery on much of the content that was discussed. The free-to-wog, the persistent world, the actual MMO aspect to the game is not there. So the difference between the beta and the actual release is negligible at best. It would be very difficult for me to recommend this game to anyone. It's expensive, it's still really buggy, and it's really demanding for your computer if you don't have a very good rig. The upsides to the game would be the intense combat and the community. I found the community to be really engaging. They're all very into the Warhammer series, hardcore fans, and they all like to roleplay and have a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed this review. This is jc.exe. I'll see you later.